She walked into the bank. She ran and was told to leave. No raised voices. Just cold smiles and questions no white man had to answer. Her name was on the boardroom door. But they never thought to check the briefcase. Now the cameras are on. Her silence is gone. And 5 minutes is all she needs. What happens when the institution tries to erase the woman who built it? It was 2:47 p.m. on a wind-bitten Tuesday in downtown Chicago. Frost clung to the windows of Crestmont National Bank's flagship branch, but inside, chandeliers blazed and the air was smug and warm. Evelyn Hale didn't flinch. She wore a tailored charcoal suit, the kind that didn't wrinkle when dismissed. Her briefcase was heavy, not with gold, but with proof. And her silence? Sharper than most voices. The first crack came when the young woman behind the executive banking counter looked up. Pale blonde, name tag, Lacey. Eyes skimmed Evelyn's skin like she was checking for the punchline. "Ma'am, general customer service is over there." Her finger floated vaguely toward a different line, a different world. Evelyn's voice was measured. "I'm here for executive banking." Lacey blinked, then smiled with something colder than doubt. "Do you have an appointment?" A pause. Nothing around them moved. A nearby man in a Patagonia vest glanced over, then away. "I don't need one," Evelyn said simply. Lacey's smile flattened. Behind the counter, a glass door opened. From it emerged branch supervisor Connor Whitmore. White shirt, perfect posture, the kind of man who'd never once been told you don't belong here. He was 36, built like confidence, and hungry for moments like this. "Is there an issue?" His voice carried effortlessly. "No issue," Evelyn said, her tone like glass about to break. "I'm requesting access to your executive banking services." Connor scanned her. Not her ID, not her credentials. Her. "You sure you're in the right place?" he asked, still smiling, still loud enough for the nearby desks to hear. "Premium services have account minimums, pretty steep ones. I'm familiar." "Are you?" He chuckled. "Let's just be clear. Executive services require $250,000 minimums, and documented legitimate income sources. We're very strict about that." His pause lingered just long enough to sting. Across the room, a young woman, Liv Peterson, sat live-streaming her day for her 50 followers. Now 73. Now 124. Her phone was steady. Her eyes locked in. Evelyn placed her briefcase on the counter. The soft click echoed louder than Connor's voice. "Maybe you'd like to explain the rules to me," she said. Connor's laugh came too quick. "Sure. We verify IDs, we check income sources, we—" A new voice cut through. Female. Older. Cold like a curtain being drawn. "And we report anything suspicious." It was Nancy Boyd, 45, regional manager, stepping beside Connor like a closing gate. She wore red lipstick and a ring the size of a small promise. "She doesn't have documentation," Connor said to Nancy, "and she won't tell us why she's here." Liv's viewer count ticked past 300. The comments rolled. "Wait. What's happening? She looks like a CEO. This feels wrong." Evelyn reached into her wallet. Slowly. A platinum flash caught the light. She pulled out a license, not a card. "Here's my identification." Nancy barely glanced at it. "We'll also need business verification," she said. "Proof of funds. A detailed explanation of your relationship with this institution." Evelyn looked directly at Connor. "You really want to keep going down this road?" He smiled. 5 minutes. Then we'll have to ask you to leave." Evelyn checked her phone. 3 missed calls. 1 from legal, 1 from executive operations, 1 from board chair, private line. The time, 2:52 p.m. She typed a single message. Code black. "Go now." Her finger hovered, then tapped send. She looked up. 5 minutes, she said softly. "That should be enough." Liv's livestream hit 811, and rising. No one noticed the ripple, but something shifted in the air. The chandelier light seemed harsher now, like it too had started watching. Evelyn didn't move. She didn't flinch. Her fingers rested on the edge of the marble counter, calm as if she had all the time in the world, and none to waste. Connor checked his watch like he was in charge of time itself. 4 minutes. Nancy stood firm beside him, arms folded, gaze locked on Evelyn like a warning sign. She didn't need to say it. Her posture did the talking. "You don't belong here and I'll prove it." The security desk radio crackled softly. In the far corner, a woman in her 70s shifted in her chair. Her name was Margaret Ellis, a longtime customer who had opened her first account here in 1974. She adjusted her scarf and watched with a kind of heavy sorrow you only earn after decades of seeing the same story repeat with different faces. At the executive entrance, 2 guards began moving closer to the lobby center. Slow, careful steps, trained not to alarm, but not to hesitate either. Evelyn checked her phone again. A single reply glowed on screen. ETA 14 minutes. Do not escalate. Her thumb tapped out a second command. Capture. Log. Lock doors if needed. Behind her, customers had stopped pretending to be busy. One leaned on the velvet rope divider, sipping a complimentary espresso, watching like he'd paid for a seat at a private drama. Connor was still talking, still enjoying the sound of himself. "I mean, it's not personal. We have protocols. Fraud is real. You'd be shocked how many people try to walk in here pretending to be something they're not." "I'm not pretending," Evelyn said. Her voice was soft, but there was something behind it. Something just starting to unfold. Connor shrugged like he hadn't heard it. "And listen, we don't judge anyone. But certain clients, they don't fit our premium profiles. You understand?" From her seat, Liv tightened her grip on her phone. The live stream crossed 1,200 viewers. Comments poured in like a flood. "Why is he still talking? They're stalling her. This is about race. Period." Nancy stepped forward now, her heels clicking hard against the polished stone. "I'm giving you one last chance to clarify your business here. Otherwise, I'll be forced to document this as non-compliance." Evelyn tilted her head slightly. "You're documenting this?" Nancy smirked. "Of course, everything. For legal reasons." "Good," Evelyn said. "You'll want a full record." A pause. Liv's camera zoomed in instinctively. Margaret Ellis stood slowly. Her voice cracked like old wood, but it rang across the lobby. "Young man," she said, speaking to Connor. "Have you checked the name on her briefcase?" Connor didn't answer. He didn't need to. Everyone's eyes had already landed on it. The dark leather bag with silver initials. E.H. Crestmont National Bank, Board of Directors. Connor blinked, then scoffed. "Anyone can buy a monogram." "Anyone," Evelyn repeated. "But not everyone has access to garage level P1. Not everyone has the codes to enter without a keycard. Not everyone walks in under their own name." Nancy's lips parted, just slightly. A whisper rippled through the customers standing behind velvet ropes. Liv's voice finally came out, barely above a breath. "Oh my God." Evelyn unlatched the briefcase, slowly. Inside were neatly stacked folders, 2 access badges, a slim executive tablet. She didn't pull anything out. She didn't need to. Nancy took a single step back. Connor reached for the walkie clipped to his belt, but it was already buzzing. A voice came through, sharp and direct. "Front desk, priority 1. Confirm presence of Evelyn Hale. Executive override en route." Nancy froze. Evelyn leaned in slightly, her voice lower now. 2 minutes left. You may want to rethink your performance." Connor's mouth opened, but the words didn't come. Not this time. Liv's viewer count hit 1,873. And then the door opened. 3 figures in tailored black suits entered the lobby. No badges, no hesitation. Just silent, deliberate purpose. The 3 didn't speak when they entered. They didn't need to. Their presence rearranged the entire room. At the center, Evelyn didn't turn to acknowledge them. She already knew who they were. Her focus remained on Connor, whose expression shifted the moment he saw the lead woman, tall, ice blonde, sharp-shouldered. She was the kind of person who could fire you just by holding eye contact too long. Rebecca Stroud, senior legal counsel. Beside her, Thomas Vexley, director of corporate compliance, and trailing behind them, carrying a small black folio, Alan Pierce, VP of Risk Assessment. Connor's spine locked upright. Nancy adjusted her jacket like she could somehow erase the last 15 minutes from her memory. Liv's stream crossed 2,400 viewers. The comments had gone from curious to combustible. Lawyers just walked in. Somebody's getting sued, Liv. She's the boss. I'm calling it. Rebecca Stroud stopped just short of the counter. Her voice wasn't loud, but every syllable cut clean through the marble and tension. Ms. Hale, I apologize for the delay. We've moved the board session to the executive level. Your input is needed immediately. Nancy blinked. Board session? Connor looked like someone had unplugged him mid-sentence. Evelyn finally turned, nodded once, then looked straight at Thomas. Have you reviewed the footage? Thomas tapped his tablet twice, then turned the screen toward her. There she was, captured from 3 different angles, frozen at the exact moment Connor told her she didn't fit the profile. Alan placed the folio on the counter. Inside, timeline logs, security audio transcripts, and a stack of signed complaints still pending HR action. Rebecca, Evelyn said, how many of those are discrimination-related? 8 in the last 6 months, all unresolved. 4 involved Connor. 2 mentioned Nancy directly. Connor's throat moved like he wanted to speak, but the words never got clearance. A quiet ding echoed from the executive elevator behind the teller line. Rebecca turned to Connor. Is there a reason you attempted to remove a board-level executive from her own facility without verification? I didn't know, he stammered. She didn't identify herself. There was no warning. No warning? Evelyn raised an eyebrow. What kind of CEO gives warnings before using the front door? Margaret Ellis stepped forward from the customer seating area, her face set. This isn't the first time I've seen this, but I damn well hope it's the last. Alan closed the folio. There are systemic issues here. You didn't just fail to recognize a CEO. You failed to recognize a human being. Connor's jaw clenched. I was following protocol. No, Evelyn said sharply. You were following a pattern. Liv's phone trembled in her hands. The stream ticked up to 3,100. Viewers were begging for names. Screenshots were being taken. A news outlet had just joined the stream anonymously. Rebecca spoke calmly. Effective immediately, we'll begin internal review proceedings. Ms. Hale, would you like security to escort these 2 to the executive level? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Yes. They'll be joining the boardroom discussion. Nancy stiffened. You can't be serious. I am, Evelyn said. You wanted protocols. Let's review them. All of them. Connor's knuckles whitened as security guards arrived, not to remove Evelyn, but to escort him upward, with courtesy, and with evidence. Margaret Ellis leaned toward Liv as they passed. She walked in here to do business. They walked themselves out with consequences. But the story wasn't over. As the elevators closed behind them, Evelyn glanced at Liv for the first time. You captured all of it? Liv nodded. Everything. Evelyn's eyes lingered for half a beat. Then keep recording. The elevator doors whispered open like they'd been warned. Inside, the executive floor felt colder, less because of the temperature, more because of the weight. This was the 47th floor, where ceilings were high, windows endless, and accountability avoided eye contact. Evelyn walked in first, flanked by Rebecca and Alan. Behind them, Connor and Nancy followed like ghosts trying to deny they were dead. No one spoke. At the far end of the corridor, the boardroom doors opened without being touched. A dozen silhouettes waited around a mahogany table polished so smooth it reflected judgment. The entire executive committee was present, and silent. In the center seat, Chairman Wallace Denton, 66, sharp as ever, tapped a silver pen against the table. Ms. Hale, he said. We've reviewed the preliminary incident feed. You have the floor. Evelyn didn't sit. She didn't need comfort. She needed clarity. Behind her, Thomas connected her tablet to the presentation system. The screen lit up. First with a still image of her at the teller window. Then another, Connor smirking. Nancy standing, arms crossed. Next, security moving in. Margaret Ellis watching. Liv's livestream metrics. No one interrupted. Evelyn took a breath. This isn't about a personal slight or a misunderstanding. This is about a culture. Her voice wasn't angry. That's what made it terrifying. A culture that makes assumptions, that filters credibility through the wrong lens, that measures worth by skin tone before resume. Connor's eyes dropped. Nancy's jaw tensed. Rebecca took over, voice crisp. Over the past year, 8 internal complaints have gone unresolved. 6 centered on discriminatory banking practices. 4 originated from this very branch. 2 of today's participants have been named multiple times. She didn't say the names, she didn't have to. Additionally, Thomas added, our own internal compliance data shows a 39% increase in flagged transactions involving Black or minority customers, despite 0 increase in actual fraud reports. The silence was louder than facts. Wallace leaned back, hands steepled. Nancy, do you wish to respond? She stood. Sir, yes. But this was about process, identification, documentation. Did you ask the last white man who walked into that branch for proof of legitimate income? Evelyn asked. Did you demand business purpose from the last blonde in Louboutin heels? Nancy blinked. No, said Rebecca flatly. She didn't, because we have it on video. Connor spoke up now, voice cracking under the pressure. I didn't know who she was. I thought she was being evasive. Evelyn stepped closer. Tell me, Mr. Whitmore, what did you think I was? He couldn't answer, because the truth didn't need a microphone. It was already screaming. Chairman Wallace turned toward the glass wall behind him, looking down at the city below. We've been here before, he said. Bad press, lawsuits, sensitivity workshops. He paused. What we haven't done is change. Evelyn walked to the center of the room. This isn't about me being your CEO. This is about how you treat someone when you think they're not. The room exhaled. No one moved. The sun was starting to dip outside, casting the skyscrapers in a muted gold that felt too honest for what had just been uncovered. Allen placed a single document in front of Wallace. Heritage Discrimination Exposure Report. Executive Summary. We're already being monitored, he said. By the FDIC, the press, and now half of social media. Wallace looked down at the final page, then back at Evelyn. What's your recommendation? Evelyn didn't blink. We don't bury this. We expose it. We rebuild from the marrow. The screen shifted. Next slide. Cost estimates, lawsuits, settlements, regulatory penalties, stock impact. Next slide. Solution. A full-scale transformation plan. Third slide. The vote. Wallace's hand hovered over the motion sheet, but before he could speak, the door opened again. A junior assistant stepped in, face pale. Sir, news outlets are here. Channel 7, Tribune, and The Post. They want a statement. About everything. Wallace stood slowly, and for the first time, he looked like a man unsure of what story he wanted to be remembered in. The room didn't breathe. Chairman Wallace stood frozen, fingers still hovering over the vote sheet, as if the wrong motion might snap the whole institution in half. Outside the glass, news vans were already parking. Cameras were unloading. The lobby below shimmered with movement. Employees peeking from behind glass panels, customers whispering to one another, phones held low but recording everything. Inside, Evelyn waited. Not for drama, not for power. For decision. This is the cost, she said, nodding toward the display screen. Not of justice, but of denial. Of waiting until public pressure outweighs conscience. Thomas stepped forward, presenting a printed breakdown. If we settle quietly, we lose moral standing. If we restructure visibly, we lose some capital. But we regain integrity. Wallace didn't sit. He looked around the board table, stopping at each face. Let's vote, he said quietly. One by one, hands raised. Some hesitant, some firm, a few still trembling. When the 12th hand lifted, Wallace closed the motion with a soft tap of his pen. Unanimous. We move forward. A hum ran through the room. Relief, maybe. Or something older, deeper. Accountability trying to stand on 2 feet again. Evelyn finally exhaled. But before celebration could form, Rebecca leaned in. It starts now. She opened a folder titled Crisis Response Phase 1. First steps: internal audit, external media statement, executive reshuffle, disciplinary actions. Connor's breath hitched. Wallace looked toward HR Director Melissa Crane. Recommendations? She stood. Effective immediately. Connor Whitmore is placed on administrative leave pending termination proceedings. Nancy Boyd is relieved of regional duties and recommended for dismissal. Risk assessment will review all previous complaints tied to both, neither protested. There was nothing left to say. Evelyn glanced at Alan. What about upstairs? District oversight failure, he said. We've got recordings of directive escalation. We'll issue formal notices by end of day. The room was quiet again. Liv's livestream, now being projected silently in a corner of the boardroom, showed a crowd forming outside the bank. Over 4,000 viewers. Journalists waiting on the marble steps. Wallace turned to Evelyn. They want a statement. What do we tell them? Evelyn picked up her briefcase, not to leave, but to lead. Tell them this wasn't a PR incident. It was a cultural fracture. And we're not putting out fires. We're rebuilding the foundation. She paused, then turned to Thomas. Gather the press on the 47th floor. They'll hear directly from us. No spin. A few board members exchanged nervous glances. Evelyn saw it. Or, she said calmly, you can send a lawyer with a script and keep the cycle alive. No one responded, but no one objected. Rebecca turned to Wallace. She's right. In the corner, Liv's phone buzzed, comments pouring in. She's running the show now. This is how you face injustice, with receipts and steel. Someone better live stream that press conference. Back on the executive display, new data scrolled across the screen. Pending lawsuits, 3 total exposure, $12.4 million social media reach, 1.2 million accounts and rising. Thomas looked up. Sir, we've been contacted by the FDIC. They're requesting a formal compliance meeting within 72 hours. Wallace nodded slowly. Then we better be ready. Evelyn adjusted her blazer, the same one she wore when she'd been told to leave. She walked to the mirror near the boardroom entrance. Not to fix anything, just to look. She didn't see herself as they had earlier. She saw what had always been true. Then she turned back, her tone shifting, just slightly, but unmistakably. This isn't damage control. It's institutional surgery. The elevator chimed. Downstairs, cameras were already rolling. The lights were already hot by the time she stepped behind the podium. Cameras clicked, microphones extended like reaching fingers. Reporters from every outlet she'd never granted access to were now holding their breath for one quote, one misstep, one headline. Evelyn didn't blink. Her blazer was the same. Her posture hadn't changed. But something in the room had. An invisible weight had shifted to her side. She placed her palms lightly on the edge of the wood, not gripping, just grounding. My name is Evelyn Hale. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Crestmont National Bank. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I walked into my own institution yesterday, and they tried to remove me. She let the silence grow legs. I wasn't escorted out because of missing credentials. I had them. I wasn't questioned because I was evasive. I was precise. I wasn't humiliated because of protocol. I was humiliated because of who they assumed I was, and who they couldn't imagine I could be. In the back, Liv stood with her phone raised, live streaming. Viewer count ticked past 12,000. Evelyn continued. This isn't just about one woman. This is about every institution built on unspoken assumptions. Every voice that goes unheard until it's amplified by scandal. Every customer judged at the door. She paused, eyes scanning the press. Crestmont is changing. Not tomorrow. Not next quarter. Now. Behind her, a screen flickered on. One by one, policy changes appeared. Equity compliance officers assigned to every branch. Anonymous incident reporting system directly linked to executive oversight. Mandatory bias training tied to performance reviews. Community reinvestment fund for underserved neighborhoods. Quarterly audits published transparently. Accountability is not a press release, she said. It's a permanent shift. A reporter raised his hand. Ms. Hale, what consequences have been enforced? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Terminations were issued. Legal investigations are underway. And those responsible for enabling this culture, whether through action or silence, have been removed from decision-making power. Another voice. Is this enough? Evelyn stepped back from the podium, just slightly. No, she said. But it's a beginning. And beginnings matter. The room hushed. For a moment, even the city below seemed quieter. Just enough to let her words settle. She turned to walk away, but paused. Institutional bias isn't a storm you survive. It's a climate you dismantle. And I intend to. She stepped down. Cameras still flashed, questions still fired. But Evelyn walked straight through them. Not like a survivor, but like an architect. Downstairs, the lobby looked different. Subtle things. A new face behind the counter. A diversity poster in the window. An older gentleman offering someone a seat instead of a stare. Margaret Ellis was back, sipping her coffee slowly. Liv had joined her. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. In the security office, monitors played surveillance footage from the previous day. Not to bury it, but to study it. Marcus, the head of security, watched it like a mirror he could finally see into. On his desk, a binder titled De-Escalation Training Protocol, Draft 1. Upstairs, Alan and Thomas were finalizing a compliance report. Rebecca was reviewing settlement language. No denials, just acknowledgments. Clear, plain, legal truths. And Evelyn? She sat quietly in her glass-walled office, watching the lobby. A mother entered with 2 children. A man in work boots opened an account. A young black couple asked about home loans. No one flinched. No one stared, just service. The world hadn't changed, but something here had. The intercom buzzed. Board members are ready for the debrief. Evelyn stood, picked up her briefcase, closed it with that same soft click that had once echoed like resistance. Before leaving the office, she paused at the window. Below, a girl was filming the building from the sidewalk, looking up like it was a monument. Maybe now, it was.